Let me tell you about the retirement party I went to last year. Big spread, cake, balloons, 30 years at the same company, everyone clapping, his boss giving a speech about dedication and legacy. And in the corner, quietly, his wife whispered something to my wife that has not left me since. We have no idea how we are going to afford this. 30 years, same company, cake and balloons. No idea how they are going to afford retirement. I started doing research the next morning. Federal Reserve data, Social Security reports, retirement studies from every major financial institution in America. And what I found was not a surprise. It was a crisis dressed up in a party hat. The median American retires with $200,000 saved. That's the middle of the road. Half have more, half have less. $200,000 after 40 years of working. Before you decide whether that sounds reasonable, let me show you exactly what $200,000 actually buys you in 2026, because the number itself means nothing until you run it through real life. Here is the stat that should stop you completely. 27% of Americans have zero retirement savings. Not a little, not something embarrassing they do not talk about at dinner. Zero. 1 in 4 people you pass on the street today is walking toward retirement with nothing. No account, no plan, no backup. And the people who do have something, the median is $200,000. This is not a personal failure story. This is a structural collapse happening in slow motion across an entire generation. And understanding why it happened is the only way to make sure it doesn't happen to you. Quick pause. New here? Subscribe and share. We make finance actually make sense. Now back to it. I want to name what is happening here so it never leaves you. I call it the Retirement Mirage. The Retirement Mirage is what happens when an entire generation does everything they were told, work hard, stay loyal, contribute when you can, and still arrives at retirement age to discover the math was never going to work from the beginning. It looks like security from a distance. It evaporates up close. Here's the bathtub that explains it. 40 years ago, 38% of American workers had a traditional pension. Their employer managed the money, guaranteed a monthly check for life. The risk sat entirely with the company. By 2026, less than 15% of private sector workers have a pension. They were replaced almost entirely by 401ks, which sounds like an upgrade until you understand what a 401k actually is. A 401k was never designed to be the primary retirement vehicle for working Americans. It was created in 1978 as a tax advantage for executives who already had pensions and wanted to save extra money on top. Then corporations realized they could eliminate pensions entirely, cut costs dramatically, and hand every worker a 401k instead. Suddenly, the responsibility for 30 years of investment decisions landed on people with no financial training, working full-time jobs, raising families, paying off student loans, and surviving the daily financial pressure of modern American life. We took retirement security, a professionally managed, guaranteed system, and turned it into a 40-year do-it-yourself project. Then, acted surprised when most people got it wrong. Now let me show you what $200,000 actually means in real 2026 dollars, because this is the part most financial videos skip straight past. The 4% rule, the standard retirement withdrawal framework, says you can pull 4% of your savings per year and theoretically not run out of money for 30 years. 4% of $200,000 is $8,000 a year. That's $667 a month from your retirement savings. Add the average Social Security benefit, currently approximately $1,976 a month in 2026. Your total monthly retirement income as the median American is $2,643. Now let's run that through actual life. Average rent in America right now is $1,850 a month. Even if you own your home with no mortgage, property taxes, insurance, and maintenance will run you at minimum $1,500 a month. Remaining, $1,143. Utilities, electricity, water, internet, phone, approximately $250 a month if you're being careful. Remaining, $893. Groceries, cooking at home, no luxuries, $400 minimum. Remaining, $493. Healthcare out of pocket beyond Medicare premiums, conservatively $300 a month. Remaining, $18. $18. Before car insurance, before gas, before clothing, before anything breaks, before anyone gets sick, before life happens in any direction that was not perfectly planned. That's what $200,000 in retirement savings actually looks like in 2026. Not a number on a spreadsheet, $18 at the end of every month. Here's why the math was always going to fail. Wages adjusted for inflation have been essentially flat since the 1970s. Meanwhile, housing costs have gone up 300%, healthcare over 400%, higher education over 1,500%. Financial advisors will tell you to save 15% of your income for retirement, but when 68% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, where exactly is that 15% supposed to come from? When rent takes 40% of your income, student loans take another 10%, healthcare takes another 10%, and you still need to feed your family and keep the car running to get to the job that is supposedly funding all of this. Saving 15% isn't advice. It's a fantasy told to people whose situation makes it mathematically impossible. The retirement crisis isn't a discipline problem, it's a structural problem wearing a discipline costume. So what do you actually do about it? Here are 3 moves in order of urgency. 1. Start today with whatever number doesn't break your budget this month. Not the right amount, not after the debt is cleared. Today. The research is unambiguous. The single most powerful retirement variable is not how much you invest, it's how early you start. $300 at 25 invested in a basic S&P 500 index fund builds to approximately $1,050,000 by 65 at historical average returns. The same $300 starting at 35 builds to $380,000. Same discipline, same amount, $670,000 difference. Start now, start small, start automated. 2. If your employer offers a 401k match, take every dollar of it immediately. A 401k match is the only guaranteed 100% return available in the financial world. If your employer matches 3% and you're not contributing at least 3%, you're leaving free money on the table every pay period. This is not optional. This is the baseline. 3. Treat the Roth IRA like a non-negotiable monthly bill. The 2026 contribution limit is $7,000 a year, approximately $583 a month. Contributions grow completely tax-free. Withdrawals in retirement, completely tax-free. If you max a Roth IRA from age 25 to 65, total contributions of $280,000, at historical market returns, you retire with approximately $2 million. Tax-free. The same $280,000 invested and left alone does what 40 years of compound interest does when nobody touches it. Back to the retirement party. The cake, the balloons, the 30-year speech about dedication and legacy. And in the corner, 2 people who did everything right by every measure society gave them, quietly terrified about what comes next. The system didn't fail them loudly, it failed them slowly. Quietly, one structural decision at a time made by people who were never going to retire on a 401k anyway. You now know what the average person actually retires with. You now know why. And you now know the 3 moves that put you on a completely different trajectory than the median. Starting this month, the retirement party should have cake and balloons, not quiet terror in the corner. If this hit different, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from. See you there.